Welcome back to LatiNation. I'm your host, Humberto Guida. Now, stand-up comics have for a long time made a career by expressing themselves honestly about what goes on in their lives. And that especially goes for Cres Hernandez, who is originally from Chicago, but has rapidly built a name for himself in the New York City comedy circuit. With a now flourishing career, it was the beginning stages that left him questioned and confused. As an openly gay comic, the expectations to perform to an LGBT crowd was met with mixed emotions. And rather than isolating any one demographic with his act, he created his own inclusive atmosphere with a showcase titled Lost City. Check it out, it's Cres Hernandez only on LatiNation.
Everyone give it up for Cres Hernandez!
Hey, I'm Cres Hernandez, and I'm a comedian. Gonna make you laugh, hopefully. Maybe. We'll see.
Like, I remember in high school, all the kids tried to get me to play that game, Truth or Dare. Remember that? Yeah. Quickly realized that game shouldn't have been called Truth or Dare. It should have just been called, Hey, Cres, are you gay? Yes, you are.
I started doing comedy mostly because I feel like I ran out of everything else I wanted to try to do. I saw a special, I think, when I was 21 years old. It was a Ellen DeGeneres special called Here and Now. Yeah, and I was at a really dark place in my life. Watching that, I laughed so hard throughout that whole special. And there's even some things that she talks about that I just really connected with, like, on a real human level. And laughing in that dark time showed me, like, how powerful laughter was. And it also made me realize, like, how well I wasn't. I'm like, wow, I haven't laughed like this in a long time. So it's kind of like a turning point for me in the sense of being able to making sure that you engage joy and happiness in your life.
Yeah, so because when I'm smoking weed again, and because I have that history of, like, addiction and all that stuff, like, I'm extremely careful. Like, I make sure that I only smoke in periods when I'm awake, okay?
The comedy scene in New York is pretty exhausting. There's so many people trying to break into the scene. I joke a lot about ambiguity between, like, my sexuality and my ethnicity because my experience has always led me to believe that people don't really know what box to put me into. And that's always been frustrating to me because even for myself, I don't really ever feel like I fit into one.
In New York, though, it's weird sometimes because, like, I always have to come out to people as a Mexican. It's like, surprise, not Filipino.
I remember when I showed up and I wasn't doing very well, people weren't laughing, nobody would, like, talk to me really, and I'm like, I just felt really lonely and depressed because I really wanted to do this thing, but nobody was embracing me. There's always, like, bro-y guys at this one mic that were always there, and they just would never talk to me, never laugh at me, but we had to be around each other all the time. And I just remember at one point I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stand by them when they're standing in their circle. I'm gonna sit down with them at the table when they're at the table because in my mind I'm like, you know what? All my life I've been running away from opportunities because I felt like it wasn't for me. It's for those other people, but not for me.
I've got range. Yeah. Typically, though, I'd say my range goes from, like, what's up, bro? To, what's up, bro? Let me eat that ass.
When I started comedy, I feel like in some ways I was more vulnerable than I am now. And then in other ways, I feel like probably not as vulnerable. Like I've been able to utilize the craft of comedy to find a way to be more honest and raw on stage, but then the burden and the kind of disappointment of the grind of comedy, I feel has also kind of made me harder, like thicker skin. So sometimes I wonder where the nuanced balance is between how much of myself is still open and vulnerable and how much of it is closing off. But I think that's the nature of performing in general.
I'm from the projects. My whole life has been a lie! This changes everything. Literally within a week, I dropped out of school and became a drunk. It was my destiny.
Amazing thing about comedy is that you can make people feel less alone by sharing your truth and making fun of your pain. Because someone else there might have had the same experience, and being able to laugh at it with you is healing for them. For me, I'm really trying to just forge forward and being open and honest and share my truth just so that I can feel less alone and other people can feel less alone, and we can have fun doing it by laughing.
Stay tuned. That's my time. Thanks so much, guys.